Futurama, one of my all-time favorite shows. And I wish I would have gotten into this show around the time it came out. I actually did not get to watch this show until it came on Netflix in like 2013, 2014. So I am so sad about that. But yeah, so let's get into this, shall we? I believe that's what we're getting ready to do. So yeah, Space Pilot 3000, in case you didn't know, the show starts off in the year 3000, but the characters do kind of slowly age up. It's got the same kind of effect as The Simpsons, but they do kind of mention they're getting a little bit older here and there, especially with the newer seasons that Hulu is doing. The opening with Fry playing the arcade game that has a ship similar to the Planet Express is so good and weird. You get like the jokes with the icy wiener and stuff like that. It's done so well. Nibbler's there. If you guys pay attention, Nibbler's shadow is actually in the first episode, which is foreshadowing in the long run. The way Fry gets put into the pod is done amazingly because Fry is not very smart and kind of clumsy. Knowing him, he would fall like that. He does stuff like that all the time throughout the show. Um, Fry being happy about being in the future, knowing that everyone he loves, because if you look back without actually watching some of the other flashbacks, you'd think his family completely hated him. So when you watch, he's just like, yay, I don't have to deal with anybody anymore. Which a lot of people would probably feel like that, but eventually they would miss everyone. Yeah, so the Welcome to the World Tomorrow line is a classic. It reminds me of something you hear about Disney's Tomorrowland that ended up getting closed down. If you guys hear a lot of stuff in the background, one, I was moving some stuff. Two, my hood fell down and I'm trying to use it to kind of help do sounds. And plus, the dad is watching Despicable Me 4. I'm going to try to get that out. The door hitting Fry on the head is funny because Fry is just, Fry. Like I said earlier, he's not very smart. Hits him in the head. The Fate Assignment Office being where he meets Leela is a good foreshadowing to the future that they have together. But you'll hear me say the word foreshadowing probably 4 or 5 times in this video, so it'd make a good drinking game. Yeah, I already talked about that. Even though my phone autocorrected to nibbles. Let's see. Leela being offended by Fry asking about her eye, but then tells him he can. There's a little animation detail I noticed. After Fry gets probed and he's putting his clothes back on, his one sock has a hole in it to where all of his toes stick out. And I just found that weird. Fry only has one relative, which is Hubert Farnsworth, and eventually you get, Hubert, or not Hubert, Hubert Jr., which is Farnsworth's clone. I think maybe his name is Hubert. I can't remember. Fry is 25. There's a scene where it's showing his name, or kind of like almost like a license description. And it says he's 25, and my buddy's like, "There's no way it shows that." He said it didn't look like that. They went to the Futurama wiki and found it. Fry don't want to be a delivery boy, and I wouldn't want to be a delivery boy either. Leela not having good depth perception, and them actually commenting on it, even because Futurama, the way it's written, in my opinion, it was ahead of its time, and it's still one of the best, written shows with the way they go about doing things. It's just good detail because Leela being one, only having one eye, means she ain't gonna be able to see that well. Fry showing kindness to Leela, even though he really don't know her. Let's see, Fry being amazed by the tube system that they have where they can go through it is really cool because that would be fun. But I'm not like claustrophobic, but there's some things I just don't like doing, and that'd be fun. But if you're claustrophobic, you gotta get around New York. It would be scary. Bender's voice in the first episode is slightly different than what it is in other episodes, and I don't know if John Maggio maybe didn't have he was still looking for the voice, kind of like Homer's voice actor changed it after a few episodes because it was hard for him to do when they started doing it, for the actual TV show. So, Fry not understanding the booth. I can't say the other word because YouTube doesn't like that word. So, the special booths. Makes sense. Also, Bender, when he has the quarter, he does, a quarter on a string trick. And people are saying he didn't become a criminal and slash prankster until after he was in the room of criminals. And that makes me, think he had a little bit of a, evil side to him. Not like super evil, but kind of like a Bart Simpson evil. He got, yeah, Leela being unhappy with her job and not really caring if Fry gets a ship or not is interesting because it shows Leela is, throughout the show, especially in the earlier seasons, Leela is kind of sad because one, she don't know where she's from because she was in an orphanage. And two, it just shows Leela is not your typical girl, which back then wasn't very. I mean, they had girls like that, but they also didn't have girls that acted like that in shows as much as they do now. And I think I also put that in another note. So yeah, Bender being sad. Bender being sad, girders are being used to make the boost, but yeah, he's bragging about being able to bend. It's funny because it just shows Bender being Bender. There Fry says he wants to be friends with Bender, and Bender's weirded out by it, okay? And when he says that, he makes a joke saying, I don't want people to think we're robosexuals, which I don't know which season that episode's in, but, foreshadowing. See, I told you that would come back. Leela being mad about her nose is funny because they also mention her eye, but she's more focused on her nose part. And her being the strong girl, because it wasn't done that much before, is awesome. And since this show, here's another foreshadowing one. Old New York being shown, and foreshadowing what I think is one of the best episodes ever, which is Luck of the Irish. I love that episode. Leela realizing how much her and Fry are alike, him being a man out of time, similar to Captain America, kind of, and her just not feeling like she belongs because she doesn't know who she is completely. I mean, Fry technically doesn't belong in this timeline now. Minter just let himself into the professor's, the Planet Express building. It's kind of funny. He's just like, yep, I'm here, old man. Screw you. Professor being happy about his meeting Fry, showing him his accomplishments and his famous wire drawer. Leela showing she can drive the ship. Show that she can be a space captain, which is something they need. Also, Fry's old life in the year 1999 ends as the year 2000 rolls around, and his new life begins on the ship as they're getting ready to take off as the year 3000 rolls around, which was really good. I like that. For the old crew being mentioned, but not fully knowing what happened to them, it's kind of foreshadowing, which leads into the next thing I put down. The old crew's chips, it says they were eaten by a space wasp. So I don't know how many crews that he's had in there, and it makes me wonder if there was a crew in between the first crew and the crew that, Leela, Fry, and Bender, and occasionally Amy, and very rarely Hermes and the professor. Fry wanted to be a delivery boy only because it's related to space. It shows how low intellect Fry is because the whole episode was him him running away because he didn't want to be a delivery boy, which was funny. Sorry, I got a little loud. But yeah, that's it for this one. Like, comment, share, subscribe, turn on notifications, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.